I recently spoke with Jim Bryant, President and Chief Founding Officer of Trajectory Inc., an ebook publishing services company. I first met Jim over 20 years ago at ProCD, a CD-ROM publishing company that published telephone directories on CD-ROM in a process that revolutionized the marketing industry. When Jim sold ProCD, he earned $47 million. What was remarkable about that experience for me was being part of an exciting and thriving company and to see how Jim skillfully managed the whole process. At 23, I was fresh out of college and impressionable. What I learned about leadership at ProCD has stayed with me throughout my career. It has guided my approach to my work. I look for bosses who have the passion and drive and enthusiasm that I came to know and respect at ProCD. In preparation for an upcoming meeting at the Entrepreneurial Club at Endicott College, I sat down to ask Jim what it meant to be an entrepreneur. Thinking for a moment about those great $50 million ideas, what makes an idea entrepreneurial?
Well, I think it starts with what I call connecting the dots. So you have maybe two different ideas that are business problems that you can solve by connecting the dots, maybe of both of them at once. And so, if it's a question of distribution that you're aware of, and there's maybe a group of customers that need to be attached to this point of distribution, then that would be an example of connecting the dots, where you're able to bridge two different needs that exist simultaneously at the same time. Creating new business models is really the key, and to real entrepreneurialism in my sense of what the word means. I don't really think of an entrepreneur as somebody who buys a franchise and is following a plan. An entrepreneur is somebody who creates his own plan and surrounds himself with really smart people in order to be able to further expand on the idea.
So if a person thinks he or she has a great idea, then what? What's the next step?
Obviously there's a lot of testing. I think that testing it with people who matter is really the most important thing. And the people who matter are the customers and potentially the suppliers and people who would support you in whatever aspect of support that you may need, be it financial, be it human resources, be it the resources that you think are going to be required in order to be able to execute your idea.
So my next question, in terms of the financial piece of it, how do you fund it? Like, how do you get this great idea? Then, how do you find people?
So ironically, every one of my things has been self-funded, and the first really successful company that we did was ProCD, and that was self-funded at a time where I was making decisions to bring on board the next person or buy diapers for my kids. And unfortunately, there weren't a lot of diapers. So it really becomes a question of addressing what the requirements are. And a classic sense, you can bootstrap something. By bootstrapping it, what that means is that you're able to fund it based on its own revenue that you develop very quickly. And maybe you fund it by developing a model very quickly, and the model then changes to more adapt to what your longer term vision is of what the company should be. But that is a very important question, because a successful company has to be prepared to pivot, to be able to adopt and to do new business models. And really successful companies are always changing and always adopting new business models.
How do you get people to buy into your idea? And I think this is one of the things that I worked for you when you were at ProCD, I worked for you here. I just have seen you get people so excited about your ideas. Everybody's behind you. People are willing to work weekends, nights. That's a gift, because not everybody has that. So what do you do to get people so?
Well, first of all, you have to be really passionate yourself about what you're doing. And if your business idea is something that excites other people, then it's a lot easier to engage more people in what you're doing. If all you're doing is changing something slightly, then it's harder to get people to engage with you. If you're changing things, on a large scale, or you have the potential to do that, then I think you're able to find people who are willing to take more risk and want to become more part of it, and it's more exciting. And when you can see that change impact people's lives, customers and suppliers, and you can see their enthusiasm in what you're doing, then it just becomes a snowball, and people then just want to become part of what you're doing. And that's how you change the world.
Is there a technique for introducing change?
You can start it by the change by saying, it's incremental change. But where where you have the biggest impact with people is you can say, okay, here's how things have been done traditionally, and here's how we can do it much differently to make things come together better and faster and more easier for people. And it's most of great ideas have previously been thought about, but they've just been either poorly executed or they haven't really been executed at all. People have let them. But when you can connect a great idea to a business practice that's in need of change, then you have a great chance of success.
How does one go about protecting your great idea?
I think that's a great question. It's constant innovation. You have to be constantly moving forward. So there are several things I think that are important. One is you have to have momentum, and I don't really believe in protecting great ideas through patent ideas or maybe intellectual property obligations that would prevent someone from following what you're doing. I think that there's more joy and success of having created something that can survive on its own. I mean, look at Amazon. Amazon didn't create a business where they blocked other people from becoming booksellers online. And yet Amazon's business has morphed enormously since it was first founded. And today it recognizes that it is really a supply chain solution rather than a book distributor. So momentum is really key, and I think the commitment to constantly evolving your being on the lookout of what you have to do to move the business forward. So businesses, I think, are successful businesses that can last a long time are constantly changing their outlook or being aware of new changes that are taking place.
So then if you see someone who you have an idea and you see another company sort of sees your idea and starts building on it, do you think that then motivates you to work even a little bit harder?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I think in all of our companies that we've been involved in, competition's really good because competition's a motivating factor. Mm-hmm. You want to do better than your competition, and you want to really start with understanding what your competitors' strengths and weaknesses are, and then play on that. And their strengths will drive you to work harder. Their weaknesses will make you feel successful as you blow past them in the marketplace.
All right, one last question. What advice would you give to the young you?
I think the key is you have to be passionate about it. You have to be willing to be persistent, and you have to know when to change the plan. And if it doesn't work out, is there a reason why it's not working out? Or and so there's this balance between persistence and reality. If you keep on trying something and you fail 100 times doing the exact same thing without changing what you're doing, it was for nothing. But if you do it 10 times and you failed the first 9 times, and each time you modify your approach to trying to get it right, that's the great thing.
So then you think failure is a good thing?
Failure is certainly accepted. Particularly in American society, it's something that entrepreneurs are rewarded for having tried and failed and tried and failed and finally succeeded. I think it's easier to appreciate someone who has done that as opposed to someone who came up with a business plan, the first business plan in their life, and they succeeded and they did great. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just that's not how it usually happens.
All right. Is there anything else?
I think having mentors, someone that you can reach out and talk to, is very important, and or having the experience of having worked in a fast-growing environment that parallels what you want to do is really important. Just to understand the tempo and the commitment that's really required.
Have you had mentors along the way?
I have, and a lot of times while I'm still not in touch with them, there's a voice in the back of my head that says, "Oh, Bela Hatvani, who was my mentor at an earlier company called Silver Platter, and based in London, I would always question myself and say, what would Bela do?" And then I would say, okay, I finally got it right. So, it's kind of like having a really good tennis coach, and a really good tennis coach will impart the ability to think when you're not with him. So when you miss a shot, you're able to say, okay, the reason why I missed the shot is because I didn't extend my shoulders back far enough or whatnot. And so the same is true in business. Business, in my view, is all about problem solving. And you're not going to solve all the problems correctly the first time. And so there has to be a lot of self-introspection where you're looking as to why you didn't and how can you solve them faster and more efficiently. And having a mentor is great. Sort of parallel thinking. Your thoughts is along with somebody else. There are a lot of exciting companies in the Boston area that can provide the experience for students to evaluate or participate in. And I think it'd be a great idea for Endicott to embrace smaller businesses or entrepreneurial businesses as a way of exposing students to different working environments. There's nothing wrong with the large corporations around here, and those probably reflect more than 50% of the employment opportunities in the future. But it's the small businesses that really reflect the exciting future. And I would bet there are probably more students at Endicott right now that are more interested in working for entrepreneurial organizations than settling into a situation at a large, very big established company.
Well, I have to agree with you because I'm working for you at ProCD. I learned more than anything else. And honestly, talk about having a mentor. You've been a silent mentor for the years that I was working with you. Your voice is always in my head, so I understand that, and I use that as sort of a guideline for a lot of the other people at work.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Jim.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.